Welcome back to the show. This is The Pulse. We're celebrating workers around the world, and this afternoon we also have somebody in our studio to talk about very important issues regarding labor. And of course, Isaac Moshin is Assistant Chief Labor Officer with the Labor Office, right? The Labor Department. And we want to talk about the job market and how laws concerning labor are enforced as we celebrate this Labor Day in a broader perspective. So first perhaps, as we talk about the laws, I can ask you about, the concerns of CLOGSAC. They say that some of their members are being replaced with political appointees. In terms of the law and labor practice, is it normal, Mr. Moshin?
Thank you very much. It will be difficult for me to speak to that matter because it has not actually come as a complaint to us as a department. So it will be difficult for me to make a pronouncement as to whether it is against the law or not. But if it is formally reported to us, then we have steps that we'll take to verify the information and then see how we can resolve it. But it has not come to us officially.
All right. So the Labor Department, I mean, you've existed for years. What exactly do you do?
Thank you for the opportunity. Labor Department does a lot of things, generally concerning labor administration. And so if you look at our functions carefully, talking about industrial relations, talking about labor inspections, talking about combating child labor, talking about employment service, that's National Employment Service, all these things spells out the role that we play in terms of the law trying to harmonize the workplace. Let me put it that way. So generally, these are the things we do. We can take each of them and then go into them.
Of course, I want us to break it down one after the other.
Yes. So broadly, this is what we do as a department.
And I know that in some time, but people will actually apply for job through the Labor Department, isn't it?
Yes. So under the function National Employment Service, that is where it falls within. We have the public employment centers. And coming into force the Labor Act 2003, it has given the private sector the opportunity to participate in the employment ecosystem. So it has given them a room to register with us, then we monitor their activities. Yes, but the government machinery is through the public employment centers.
Right.
Where we do all these activities in relation to registration, in relation to job matching, career guidance, career and vocational guidance. We do all that at the public employment centers. And so generally that is what we do. And so candidates or job seekers may come into our offices at the centers, then whatever they want us to help them with, we do. If you are looking for a job, there's a process we take you through registration, because we have to get some information from you, the sector you want to work with, and then we'll match that with your skills that you have. And the vacancies that we receive, we do what we call job matching. And we do the job matching per what the employer requires or demand. So the process of getting the right candidates for the employer is the job matching function that we do. And so we collect this information from both the employer and then the job seeker to be able to do the matching.
And how intense is this area, which for a lot of people is crucial, because unemployment is huge in this country. People are looking for jobs every day. How regular do you get some of these requests?
Well, it doesn't come regularly, but we do job canvassing, for example. From the officers go out to do job canvassing through inspections, establishment inspections, and then we have another function just solely for job canvassing. We reach out to employers and then ask them whether they have vacancies that they haven't filled. And if they have not filled them, what are the vacancies? What is required to fill all this? And so we take it back to the office. And if they want to fill, we look into our database and then look at the appropriate candidates and then submit them for the employer to do further interviews and then take those that he or
So in terms of the analysis and then the applications you get, and then what is available and how you are able to sometimes do your own things to get the people the job that they need. I mean, have you come across challenges that you think that this perhaps are the obstacles why people are not getting jobs, even though they may have completed tertiary institution, they may have degree, masters, but yet still people are just not employed?
Yes, we do what we call a skill gap analysis. And sometimes the issue has to do with the skill set that the person is having. I will cite an example. We recently got vacancies coming from Tema Center, Tema office. And we could not get them in Tema. Probably people don't even know that this exists. And we circulated it among the centers across the country, and we still did not get the required candidates to fill. And this was very technical. They were looking for individuals with background in late-turner machine operating. And there are various categories that they wanted, a number, but we could not fill those vacancies. So sometimes we get the vacancies, but we don't have the candidates to actually do any matching. Recently, there was another publication in terms of somebody who has background in this kind of geology or something. We couldn't get, and the vacancy is still pending. So sometimes these are some of the challenges that we come across. But if you come to work that don't require much skill, those ones, they easily get jobs, like the factory hands and those that go into individuals as employers' places to work, like domestic workers and the rest. For those ones, you don't require much skill to be able to undertake those jobs. So we fix them all the time.
But from your perspective, will you say that perhaps we are not doing targeted training?
Okay, for some time now, we are now doing what we call retooling for the department to be able to carry out a lot of these functions effectively. And so we do training, but it's very limited, not on a wide scale. Normally, those that visit the center, we're able to take them through some training. And not only that, we also refer some to a vocational skill training or soft skills training. We have people that we work with, and so once we get such candidates, and there's a need for them to acquire some skill sets, we refer them to those institutions to go and acquire it, and then they can be employable.
Right. Now, let's look at protection for workers from the Labor Department point of view. What the law and how you protect those who are employed. Walk us through the process.
Okay, we have two ways of doing it, generally. Through the industrial relations process, if you have any industrial issue that is bothering two parties relating to talking about unions and then the workplace and all that kind of engagement, it is settled sometimes in our offices. Some are sent to Labor Commission, but I'll concentrate on our side.
Right.
And so through industrial relations issues, we are able to resolve a lot of cases. And through labor complaint cases that is handled at the metro offices, what happens is that if we get a complaint in relation to whatever work that you are doing, and probably, for example, the employer, you agreed on something and he or she did not follow, you bring it to our attention, we take steps to resolve it at the enterprise level. And so these are some of the things we do. And again, we conduct establishment inspection. And this gives us an opportunity to know everything about the establishment. We talk to the workers, we talk to the employer, and we get documentation on all the workers. We demand for their payroll, we demand for anything that has to do with the workers, terms and conditions of their work. And these are the areas that you can use to protect the workers. So anything that you find that is not in line with what the law provides, then we make sure that we bring the employer back onto the right path. Then things are resolved, and then there's harmony at the work.
Are you able to tell us some of the complaints that come to you? The most common ones.
Quite interesting.
That you see almost every day.
Just 2 days ago, or yesterday, yes, I handled one personally. The employer terminated her appointment without any notice. She was at work, and then the employer called that don't come to work, I've terminated.
This is a private institution?
Yes, they paid her some amount. But you see, the law is very clear on some of these things. You cannot just terminate. There's a cost if you do that anyway. And on both sides, the employee is also supposed to notify the employer and all this. And so they are all stated in the law. But the application is where people fault. And so when she made a complaint, okay, I took it up, I invited the employer. The employer came, and then we resolved the matter. So I'm even yet to write for them to, whatever cost is there, then they'll pay. But they generally cut across various issues relating to work. Non-payment of SNIT contribution, for example, is one.
Yes.
Leave entitlement is also one. Sometimes, I don't know whether they are not aware. It's only sometimes when they have an issue and the employer terminates the appointment that
before they start bringing all of these things
out. When they come to make a complaint to us, they'll say, "Oh, I didn't enjoy my leave for all this period that I was with the employer and all this." But you see, some of the things are supposed to be enforced by the employer. Annual leave, you have to give to the person. You have to program when is the person taking the annual leave. Then you know that when that period comes, you allow the person to go for the leave. Sometimes they're going to negotiate on how they will implement the leave, but that one is still within the law. So when they don't enjoy all these things and they end up being sacked from the work or something like that, then they now come and make a complaint and include all these things. Basically, it has to do with the conditions of service. And after 6 months, if you engage somebody after 6 months, you have to formalize it by giving the person a signed terms and conditions.
Or you allow the person to go.
Yes. So if after probation period, for example, and you are not satisfied with the person, you can let the person go. But if you want to maintain the person, even if a day, the person can to work a day, that adds up to 6 months plus, automatically the law
becomes a permanent
employee. The
law
sees the person as a permanent staff and will enjoy whatever permanent staff also enjoy.
So these challenges relating to non-payment of SNIT sometimes they don't take their leave, sometimes the employer does not respect the terms of the contract. My assumption is that usually these are all in the private sector, isn't it?
Yes. In fact, it's
99% in the private sector.
In the private sector, I can see.
So you say that there is workers or a lot of people are going through a lot of difficulties in their workplaces, especially in the private sector. Yes. You will say that?
Yes, I can say that for sure. Because you see, most of the cases that we receive, scarcely that you receive a case from the public sector. Scarcely. There are just one and those ones is not even relating to the working environment per se, but it has to do with workmen's compensation. When you are injured, whilst carrying out your activity, that one, sometimes we have challenges. Getting money from the state is very difficult. And so we do all these processes, trying to determine and then facilitate the payment of workmen's compensation. All these things are part of the working environment, try to enforce. There are instances that employers, when somebody is injured at the workplace, the law says they should give us notice within 1 week. They should give the Labor Department notice within 1 week of the injury. Of the state of the injury. Yes. Mm-hmm. So you have to write to us formally that so and so and so date and time this worker was involved in an accident. And you get such notice from them? Yes, we get. We get a lot. The education is now going down. And then when you get such notice, what do you do? So we put it in our records, showing that there was an accident. So normally what happens is that when it happens like that, the worker will have to be taken care of. One, they still have to continue paying you, for the time that you are still going under medical treatment. Your salary should be full. So we have instances where some employers, when you are undergoing medical treatment, they don't want to pay your salary. The reason I would just allow you to establish the point, and I can follow up with your questions, is that we have received countless number of complaints and petitions from people who was working, got injured in the process, and sometimes the employer just abandoned them. We've reported of some Ghanaians who were working with some foreign firms. One had one hand chopped off whilst working on a machine.
even it took so long before this foreign employer would take the injured Ghanaian to the hospital. And that was it. They didn't follow up. He's made representation to the company for some kind of assistance to enable him take care of his health and possible compensation because of the state he is in now. He will not be able to function 100%. And as we speak, he's yet to get it. It took the intervention of a lawyer to take the matter to court. And the court is yet to come to a determination on this matter.
I think even sometimes when such cases go to court without necessarily passing through our office, the court may sometimes refer the case because there's a whole process that you have to go through. If it comes to our notice, we take steps to let take some documentation. You know, the medical doctor will have to do assessment on the impact of the injury on the worker and to determine certain things. So we use that kind of assessment in determining the workman's claim, if there's any. You know, there are some of the injuries that are temporal, you know, in nature and may not have any impact on the person.
But there are some that are permanent, yes, that may have named the person for life.
The component of it also comes in. So we take all this information. There's a form actually that when it comes to our notice, we allow them to fill. It may be the first medical report, which we don't use because the medical officer will have to do the assessment after the injury is healed or when the person is fit to go back to work. Then they know the impact. And that is the point we then begin to determine whether there will be any lump sum compensation claim that will go to the injured worker.
So when you do the investigation, after your investigation, then you establish that the employer must pay this compensation.
Yes.
And then how do you enforce it?
In fact, it's within 3 months. The law says once we issue the notice to the employer, then within 3 months, the employer will have to take steps to make the payment. And you see, because of our working environment, certain things are there, you know, you find it very difficult. But through industrial relations, we try to, some companies, they do it within the time frame. Others will come back and then inform you that they have challenges, so they'll need small time in addition to be able to
comply.
Yes, where we need to send a reminder after 3 months, we do. But we have some other employers who are very recalcitrant and very difficult to deal with.
That they will not even comply with the directive.
So once we determine the compensation and there's an award given, then the injured worker, with that order that we give, the claim that we write, then they can take it up and facilitate it in court after 3 months.
And that's also another cost to the injured worker.
Yes.
The person who's already facing financial challenges because of his inability to perhaps work effectively now has the tax also going to court to enforce the ruling or the decision of the Labor Department.
Yes, it's true. You see, our process is very long. And so sometimes once we notice that this employer is trying to be difficult.
You don't have power to enforce your own rulings?
We have to use the Attorney General route. You know, for the Metro office, you would have to send the information to the Chief Law Officer, who would then also pass it through the Ministry to Attorney General for them to do such things. So because of the route, we always advise that they can get private, legal practitioners to take the case.
I was thinking that perhaps we may have lawyers at the Attorney General on standby who will take up your cases in the event that an employer refuses to comply with your ruling, so that it becomes seamless for the victim to go through the legal process without necessarily having to, stress him or herself financially.
A lot of things are changing now. We are looking at how we can enhance our services. And so what you are saying is not out of place. It's something that we will take on board and then see how we can facilitate that. Because I think the Labour Act is being reviewed and a lot of things are being added on. And these are some of the areas that we think we can leverage on to improve on our services. But in a large extent, we are able to handle almost all the cases.
And compliance is high?
High. I mean, there's a case that has been registered in our office right now. The guy got injured over 10 years ago. Just for him, 1.5 years or 2 to go on pension, I think he was terminated and he felt peeved. He came that he got injured and he was not taken care of. And he has all the records, police report and all that. So we are now facilitating the process for him to be compensated. So no matter how long it, it's in the pipeline, we can still work on it. And because the employer also fails to report as prescribed by PNDC law 187.
That in itself constitutes some infringement.
Yes, and because of time value of money, if it has been computed at the time, the value of the money would have been, okay. But because of time lapse, it is not. So we will use, there are sanctions if you don't report, but we don't always want to be, litigating matters of such. So we can use current ceiling to do the computation for the person so that the person don't lose in terms of the value of the money that.
But from all the analysis you've done, the cases that you've perused and all, will you say that the Ghanaian worker is very much aware of the laws that protect them? Or is it because in their desperation for work, they don't even read the do's and don'ts unless they are involved in an incident before they try to look for
it's
a remedy?
It's a of issues. For example, you see, we need to do a lot of publicity and sensitization of our services. And that is the reason why we are even here.
Exactly.
To leverage on the May Day to talk about some of these issues. Those informal businesses or establishments, they follow all these things. But if they are in semi-formal businesses, some one man doing something, those are the places where you have a lot of these challenges. Before the issue will come even to your notice, a year, 2 has even passed. So normally these are some of the challenges, but once it comes to our notice, we quickly take it up and then try to resolve it. And then if there's any determination in terms of the lump sum, we compute and then they pay.
I mean, strike is a constant feature in labor issues. I don't know whether sometimes you get involved in resolving strike actions too. Because I know that ultimately, sometimes, if both parties are unable to come to a resolution, the Labour Commission now step in, and then it may even go to court. At your level, beyond dealing with on their individual cases, sometimes you also get involved in addressing industrial actions.
Yes, we do a lot. You see, but we don't communicate all these things. What we do is we gather intelligence on labor, issues, and we every month, across the country, whatever is like any interest relating to labor, whether you are picking signals that people want to strike, people are not happy with certain things that you want to bring to the notice of, the ministry, we pick it up and then we quickly, that one don't, wait. Even if it's one, paragraph, you have to quickly send that information. Then that one is used to mitigate whatever is, is supposed to come up. And in some of the regions, I have to say it here that labor is supposed to be part of the security councils, the regional security council, and then the districts and the security council, because labor issues can be very volatile.
Right.
But because we do all these things within at the background, a lot of things don't come out. Yes, I have even prevented a case of strike like that before, somewhere in Sawan when I was working there. So once we get the information, quickly we'll move in to resolve whatever issues, understanding will come, and then there'll be peace and harmony.
So you gather intelligence, but you are not part of the security of the district and regional security council.
That is why I'm using this medium to echo it. In some other districts and municipal, labor is part, but some places I'm not sure why we are not really. But we are taking it up. We are through the Chilo officer. We want to echo this through the regional, so that it will be, across board in terms of our.
Okay. So apart from addressing the concerns of workers and few other things that you do, what are some of the other functions that perhaps for those who are watching and may not be so conversant with the Labour Department, what are you telling them as we bring the conversation?
So if you are somebody who is looking for work, for example, you may want to take opportunity of the free service that is offered at the public employment centers across the country. We have, in fact, you'll find one in all regions. And sometimes, Greater Accra, we have two, one in Tema, one in Accra. And they are building new one too at somewhere in Sawam area. And new ones are also being built across the country.
So you have district officers as well?
Yes, we have district officers that mainly handle these labor complaint cases and then the workmen compensation issues. And then other issues relating to inspection. So sometimes when we even get a complaint, we move in through inspection to be able to resolve some of the issues. And so I'm not sure we have ever visited multimedia.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
it's the pipeline.
This perhaps is the new government that the Labour Commission is put on. The Labour Department is putting on. Be more open to the public. Let the public understand what you do. That your doors are open, and that anything relating to labor issues, private, public, you stand in readiness to help resolve these matters.
As part of the strategies, we are looking at leveraging on technology to be able to reach out to more audience, because it's not everybody that can visit your office. And so the platform is being created, that's the Ghana Labour Market Information System, that will provide an opportunity for candidates, job seekers, academia, employers to interact. It's a platform that will be able to gather enough labor market information and to even know the skill set of individuals who are even applying for jobs and all this. And so very soon, I don't want to take the wind out of the ministry. They are likely to launch and then open some of the new centers that they've built. They're very beautiful and they are retooling us. And part of this, we're also working with our stakeholders, with German, EU, with GIZ Ghana Center. We're working in collaboration with them. They are sponsoring this program for us to be able to tell the world what we do so that people can appreciate our services, and then we'll be able to resolve outstanding issues that people are having in terms of labor. But the focus is on employment service because of the unemployment situation we find ourselves in this country.
Right. Is there a hotline that people can easily reach out to you?
There is a hotline I will share with you. It's a toll-free line. If you Google it, you'll get it. It's on the ministry website.
Ministry of Employment website.
Yes. And then once you call it toll-free, you can get it. But there's another line that we use at the Metro office. It's 027-2000-976, and then the last 267.
Please repeat the number.
027-2000-976 and 027-2000-967.
All right. Today is Labor Day. Final words to our viewers.
My final word is that if you are engaged in any activity that you are earning something from in the form of employment, we are not talking about work. You can work without necessarily being in employment. And so if you have any issue relating to work having with your employer, please come to the Labour office. Our doors are open. Then we'll see how we can help you, to resolve some of those issues. Don't sit with it and then say you don't have anywhere to go.
All right, thank you very much. Isaac Mushin is the assistant. Isaac Mushin, assistant chief labor officer with the Labor Department, and I've learned so many things from him today. Labor Department is doing a lot of work for those who've been victims of unfair labor treatments in their work, and he's spoken about steps they've taken to help people get compensation, to help people even get jobs. Or the ultimate goal is to ensure that if you are an employer or if you are a worker, your rights will always be protected. And it ties in, more importantly, as we celebrate Workers' Day around the world. And as we celebrate this day, organized labor, they've reached some level of consensus with government on their demand for an immediate payment of all Tier 2 pension deductions. This agreement was reached at a meeting between organized labor, the Employment Labor Relations Ministry, the Ministry of Finance, and Senate yesterday, Tuesday. The unions have in the past few days been agitating over government's inability to remit all their Tier 2 pension deduction to the fund manager since July of last year. A meeting was held at the Employment Ministry to resolve the matter after the unions threatened to embark on an industrial action if government fails to pay the deduction by May 2nd. That's tomorrow. Listen to NAGRA President Angel Kabonu on what has been agreed on after that meeting.
We'll see that there's been some development. The development is that, one, we will not allow our Tier 2 pensions to be in arrears because it affects the retirement of our members. So there was a commitment to pay. The details are being worked out, but there's a commitment to pay, and we want a written document on that. And also, there is also a program of paying up the arrears of the dues, and also the lump sum that SSNIT is supposed to pay beneficiaries have also been decided on, and that payment ought to be done. So we can say that there is progress being made on the issues that led to the threat to embark on industrial actions. Whatever proposal they have, they are supposed to present it to Labour, for Labour to sit with its technical committee and look through it before we signed that document, which I think by the close of Thursday, those documents are supposed to come to us.
And then another matter of interest is the fear of SSNIT's inability to fully pay pensioners their full contribution by 2036. NJ Carbonu says, despite some assurance from SSNIT, they have rejected a call for an increase in the SSNIT contribution.
The defense need is coming out is the fact that, the government of Ghana will not allow a situation where we cannot pay beneficiaries. But the actual role of SSNIT is to take those monies and invest prudently so that the whole scheme can be sustained. That is where the controversy is. The controversy, the research is realized that government is not been fulfilling its obligation. And because of that, there is a shortage of funds for SSNIT to be able to keep up with its obligation. That is the outcome of the research that was done. And then two, the question we should ask is, over the years, have SSNIT been investing prudently? And prudent investment is investment that brings you maximum returns. Then on the issue of SSNIT request that workers have to pay up more, some of us have a difficulty in accepting that concept as at now. Because the little that has been given to you, how did you manage it? Are you getting it? And we cannot pay more with the kind of governance structure that SSNIT is having right now. There is too much government control with regards to the governance structure of SSNIT.
NJ Carbonu also put forth some key issues they look forward to the president, and president has already spoken on the May Day celebration, but they had expectations.
The president to indicate to workers its commitment to our wherewithal as contributors to this economy. I expect the government to identify and address the economic situation, because these are things that affect workers. I expect the government to announce the reduction of its hold on institutions such as SSNIT. And I also expect government to announce a dramatic cutting down of expenditure on the public purse. These are things I expect the president to talk about.